Hello,
Hello.
and welcome to Planet Marzipan,
Your Fish and Marillion podcast.
where we talk about all things in the planet of Marillion and fish. I'm Mezza, and here's my mate.
Craig Houston.
Hello, and welcome to Planet Marzipan. I'm Mezza. I'm here with my good friends.
Craig.
And
Grae.
who wasn't ready there, was he? And Tim. Yes, we welcome back. Friend of the pod. Definitely first in the queue when the badges are out, Craig. Tim Sidwell.
Is this like the golden gavel in Bargain?
It's probably worth a bit less than the golden gavel if you bargain it. But
Oh, I don't know.
yeah, no, I think it might be.
Yeah, I think Tim and James will have to have fisticuffs for the golden gavel.
We welcome Tim Sidwell back to the pod. Hiya, Tim.
Good evening.
Hiya. And Tim is here we're here to jog Tim's memory off the back of last week's episode where we talked about with Friends from the Orchestra and with Friends at St. David's. Tim is obviously the man what pulled together the fantastic film from the St. David's show. And on the 18th of November 2019, have you got any sort of overriding memories of the whole thing, Tim? Or
Well, the whole thing had started a long time before that, actually. Because looking back on our activity over that period and what actually ended up on the Blu-ray, we were there a year. We were at Real World Studios a year before, in the October of 2018, to film the what became the Estonia promo, which has done so well on YouTube over the years. So
It's over 1 million hits now.
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then you sort of go back a bit further, and of course it all started with the Royal Albert Hall and the little tour leading up to that, where In Praise of Folly had been involved, and Sam and Emma as well. So memories of Cardiff sort of even go further back than that.
so, did sort of the with Friends part of it? Obviously, you'd had the Albert Hall, as you say, so that was kind of with Friends. Didn't throw up any new challenges, did it? Really?
Not really in terms of filming. I just remember it being a really, I don't know, a really creative experience for everybody involved. It was lovely to feel like Marillion's music was being enhanced by these professional musicians, as the band would put it, and it was
Real musicians.
real musicians. That's
Yeah.
right. And put them on their best behavior and made them feel completely inadequate as musicians. And yeah, so to film the Royal Albert Hall, just to go back to that, was just an amazing experience. And then to learn that the project was being carried forward and they were interested in doing the Friends with the Orchestra album and putting all that together. And when we filmed at Real World in October 2018, yeah, it just felt like a natural progression for the band's music at the time. Not necessarily for writing new music, but just to see where they could go with the back catalogue and
I think
songs.
I think it's quite interesting as well. So for me, the memories of that first Royal Albert Hall without the second half with In Praise of Folly and what have you, there was a lot. It almost like it was pomp and circumstance. It was really big and grand. Whereas the tour that followed it for me felt a lot more intimate. The tour itself felt a lot more intimate, and everything still had a space. There was a space to the mixes with the strings involved. It gave everything a space. But that tour, and particularly the St. David's gig, I mean, I didn't go to that, but watching it looks like a far more intimate, far more personal experience than the pomp and circumstances of the Albert Hall.
Yeah, I think venues had got a lot to do with that.
Yeah,
I think it was also, by the time we got to film them in Cardiff, they'd done a few gigs up to that point, hadn't they? I can't remember what it was like up until then, but you certainly got the sense that the touring party was in really, really good spirits. There'd been like an energy and, I don't know, a levity to the whole thing with different people being on the road with the band, and it had sort of given the whole thing a different kind of feel, which I think really came through when we were filming it. And of course, did they go on then to do the other two Royal Albert Halls?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
followed this. Yeah.
So I went to those, and obviously we weren't filming them, so it was fantastic to see that show in the Royal Albert Hall a couple of times. Whereas before, in 2017, I was under the stage watching it on a multi-view and not really getting the atmosphere at all. So that was quite special.
It's weird because at the time I decided not to. I decided not to go to those Albert Hall shows because I didn't want to change the memory or experience of All One Tonight. Do you know what I mean? I think in hindsight, I'd probably regret that decision, but at the time it seemed like the right thing. I saw them in the Royal Concert Hall playing, but I made the decision not to go to the Albert Hall, and I think at the time it was quite good because I wanted All One Night to be special.
I think
somebody else will probably call me crazy.
I think the rule of thumb is if you can go to a gig at the Royal Albert Hall, go to a gig at the
Go
Royal
to it, yeah.
Whatever the band, because it's just
we don't do that normally, do we, John?
It's just such an amazing room, and it was just right for what Marillion were doing with them at that time.
It really was, yeah.
So what was the decision to actually film it in Cardiff in particular? Do you remember that at all? Or?
I don't remember. I think I remember being told that that's where we were going to film it. I don't think I had much choice about it, but yeah, probably something to do with many. I mean, we weren't going to film at the Royal Albert Hall again. I mean,
no.
As Graham said, from his point of view, not wanting to go to see the band there because it might taint All One Tonight.
Yeah.
We can't raise the bar any higher than that, really, and to go and film there again so soon after doing the debut performance, I think would have been a big mistake, a big expensive mistake because of the facility fee that venue charges. But St David's Hall is a lovely venue.
Yeah.
It's got a really, really lovely vibe to it, and I think it's somewhere that is built for kind of classical music, but has that intimate vibe that Grae.
Yeah, it's got an interesting shape to it.
I mean, it's not dissimilar to how the Symphony Hall in Birmingham set out, or Bridgewater Hall in Manchester,
or the Sage again.
Yeah, but it just felt just that little bit kind of more, I don't know, compact and a little bit.
Is it because it's wider rather than longer, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So it reminds us a little bit in the shape wise of the Utrecht, where it's quite shallow at the front but goes higher and wider on the sides.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing as well was it was a standing audience, wasn't it?
Yeah, the front floor I was down the front standing.
Did the knees?
My head pops up a few times in the video.
Okay. Yeah, because we've filmed at Bridgewater Hall before. We filmed Lisa Stansfield there. I've never filmed at Symphony Hall, but to have seats in the way of everything really gets in the way of what we can do in terms of creating a film of it. We filmed Howard Jones in De Montfort Hall in Leicester before Christmas, and they had the seated configuration there, which meant that we couldn't get any cameras sort of at the front of the stage, and it kind of does limit as to what you can do. So to be able to be in a venue like that with that kind of setup for the band, and to be able to have the cameras sort of in the pit, as it were, I think we had them on tracks as well, which is doubly nice. Then it really made it feel like a special thing for us to be filming, and we were able to make it work a lot better. So,
do you think the relationship you've built up with the band when you're doing things like this, do you find them really accommodating compared? I don't know. So if you go to somebody new and you say this is what we need, and they're like, I don't know about the space, or I don't know about that. Whereas with Marillion, you've got this relationship. They've seen your work. They know how you think. Do you get that kind of a level of autonomy where you can say it would be really great to have a track here, and they'll go, yeah, okay, that'll work?
Yeah, I mean, they're always really, really good in sort of saying, well, what do you need? And we'll say this is what we need, and then we're told that we can't have it. So
yeah, it's to make it good for them, isn't it? Yeah.
But I mean, the band are usually very, very open to whatever we would say is the thing to do, because they want it to be the best thing possible. What's usually the limiting factor or factors is the venue, and their designated camera positions, and also the promoter. You know, the promoter wants to sell as many seats as possible, and if they then find that we need to kill 20-30 seats to put cameras in specific places, then that's when a dialogue and negotiation has to take place. But what we try and do before even that happens is to see where we can go and avoid having to do any seat kills whatsoever. And I think the Cardiff gig was absolutely fine. We had the pit, so it was barriered off and we could put cameras in it. We just have to be extremely careful of the venue's health and safety and fire egress kind of things and policies. And if we get in the way of that, then we have to rethink. But generally, we kind of know what we can and can't get away with. So I can't remember Cardiff being very difficult at all. We
Presumably, you'll have done a recce on it.
I don't think we did do a recce, but
Did you not?
no, but we didn't have a jib or anything like that for that show, so we weren't sort of needing lots of floor space for something like that.
It still looks widescreen, you know, like a big. I mean, the gig itself kind of starts with the focus on the band and the friends, and then as the set gets bigger, then the back projection comes in and it all sort of opens up, doesn't it?
Opens up.
I remember it being a really, really lovely show in that respect. I mean, it's that intimacy thing again, Graham, that you mentioned. There were some lovely songs on that show. Beyond You, Season's End, Estonia, The Hollow Man. Songs where the screen media really enhanced what was going on. I remember Jens's lights being really cool for that as well, because they really kind of complemented what was going on the screen. And when you've got something like that going on, you can, in terms of camera direction, you can get quite intimate, quite close. So you've got something going on behind the band. There's lots happening on stage. So there's really good opportunities to do like two shots and pull focuses between people and looking at the relationships between people as they're playing, and especially with the strings going and what have you. It's a real visual feast for people like us that like to point cameras at things. And
yeah, definitely. Because I mean, this time round, you've got was it like 11 people or so on stage, and you had coverage of everybody perfectly, you know, and it works really well.
Yeah, and in terms of the widescreen thing, we chose to do that one. It's called 2:3:5:1 ratio. So it basically gets the crops on the screen, and it just gives it that kind of cinematic kind of feel to it. That kind of music really, you know, the epic. I mean, they did some epic that night, didn't they? They did This Strange Engine, Ocean.
Start with Gaza,
New Kings, Gaza. Yeah. I think stuff that really deserves that kind of cinematic feel to it. Yeah.
I think picking up on your comment there about Jens and the lighting, one thing I've noticed with the really see that kind of thought process, so with the really big shows. So I went to see Grae in Berlin recently, and she's got these huge digital. I think it's the biggest digital back screen that's ever been, like really bright, really full res things. And it doesn't matter where the lighting is because the screen's so bright. Yeah. When you've got the back projections and things like the Marillion you've used in the past, one thing I've noticed is Jens's lighting is always really sympathetic. He leaves space for the screen. Yeah. When the screen's not being used, he fills it. But when the screen's important, he kind of, his lighting is like, it's almost like Philips ambilight. It's around the edges and adds to the color and the feel. Yeah. You know, people constantly comment about the way Jens lights a room rather than lights the band, which is brilliant. And I suppose for you, it enhances your opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, that feeds really well into how we like to shoot concert films. You know, it's all about the band's performance. It's all about the production, the light show. It's all about the audience reaction. It's all and it's all about the room. And Jens's lighting is fantastic because that's exactly what he does. He'll look at the colors and the dynamics of a video that's going to be put on screen, and he'll complement it. He won't just chuck anything out on his lighting. He'll actually work on complementing the colors and making sure, like you say, it's kind of that subliminal kind of backlighting you have on the tellies and stuff. Yeah. So, and you can't help but sort of have to step cameras back to see the effect in the room. I mean, Anne-Marie captures these things so well, doesn't she? She
definitely.
She quite quickly understood the nature of Jens's lighting, and that you don't need to be close up to a Marillion show to really get the full impact. It's sometimes better off to be at the back of the room, because then you see exactly the full thing. Then you get the music, you can see the screen, and you get Jens's lighting coming out and painting light across the space of the room. So, and it's a hard job sometimes, but that's what we try and sort of capture on film.
I think you can see it on, I think you can see it on this way. The lighting's very, very sympathetic to the filming process, because there's nothing too dark. You can get to see everybody perfectly. Yeah, and it just works out really, really well. Wasn't this one where we talked a while back about it? Could it potentially be the first one going to go into 4K, but it didn't quite happen?
Oh, crikey. I mean, potentially, yeah. It was around about the time that 4K was being considered. I mean, I think at the time, maybe the data was just too much, and the post-production system that I had couldn't handle it. I mean, I'm razzing through 4K. I mean, I'm doing a project for Matt Johnson for the at the moment, and they shot it in, I don't know, it's something like 5 or 6K.
Oh, geez.
which is quite my computer's struggling sometimes, but yeah, I mean, we could have considered doing that in 4K. We didn't though. So no, we didn't. And the reason would have been a technical reason rather than anything else.
I think Craig has to ask you that every time we get you on.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. You know,
all I'm going to say is Pompey, Pompey, Pompey.
What's going on in Pompeii then?
Yeah, not 4K probably. Yeah.
Are we going to talk
well,
about?
I wouldn't say that might not be the case.
No, there's some footage from Paris on here as well, Tim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that sort of 1 or 2 cameras?
I was given that footage by whoever
right.
shot it. I wasn't out there to film that. That was Man of a Thousand Faces, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Where they had the choir involved at the end. Yeah. I mean, the extras are an interesting thing for this, because, I mean, look, reminding myself, looking at the packaging, it's quite a nice package, isn't it? Because you've got the gig, and on the second disc you've got the 5.1, and you've got the little documentary that we did as well, and you've got this filming, and yeah, we there's the Live in Kensington bootleg slideshow.
There is.
Yes,
I love the fact it's live in Kensington.
Yes, we couldn't say it was live at the Albert Hall, for obvious reasons. But that was quite nice to put together, because that was all Anne-Marie's photography, sort of put into a slideshow for the 3 songs that they didn't play in Cardiff.
Yeah, I mean the 5.1 mix has got the screen media on the screen while it's playing. It's really good. It's really good.
So I have to say that we discussed the album itself recently, and we discussed this disc too. It really opens up the mix. That 5.1 surround sound set on disc 2 is just. John and I both maligned it the week before we did it. Like, oh no, it's really pedestrian. It's a really pedestrian mix. And then we both listened to it before the episode, and he went, "I think I was wrong." I went, "Yeah, so do I. It's actually a lot better than I remembered."
I mean, we said in the first episode, it's not particularly an album that we pull out very often with friends, because you'd listen to live stuff or you go back to the studio album. But it's been a pleasant surprise, and then the 5.1 just opens the whole thing up. It's amazing. It really is. I should be digging it out more based on that. And it's still available at Racket, Lucy.
And it's available in the shops as well, because this was the second one in a few years that it was the next one to go direct to retail after the Racket release, after All One Tonight. So you've had All One Tonight, then you had this, and then you had An Hour Before It Start Live. So it's good that Adele are interested in releasing stuff out.
Craig, Cadogan Hall went straight to retail.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the latest ones.
Right.
Yeah, because Cadogan Hall was one of the first ones, and then you had some of the weekends ones, like the Marbles, and that they went to retail. But I'm talking about the later ones. So this is one of the best of the packages that Adele released, and it's long may they continue to actually get stuff into the shops.
Yeah, I mean,
Because they
especially
Adele did the colour vinyl as well, didn't they? They released that. It wasn't a Racket release for that. It was an Adele release.
No, it's retail. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good that there's still retail demand.
Mm.
I was looking at some photographs earlier on from when we were at Real World when we filmed the Estonia thing, which was a year before this gig. They did the tour, and it reminded me that we were there on Halloween, and the girls in Praise of Folly did this Halloween prank on the band, I think, which involved skeletons and pumpkins and stuff. I can't remember exactly what they did, but we also filmed. It was really weird because it was Halloween, but we also filmed the Christmas message for that year.
Yeah.
In the accommodation part of Real World for that as well, which was good fun. So yeah, that's quite nice memories coming back from that little period. And then of course when they were doing the rehearsal for the tour, we went and spent a day. I think it was just a day with them at Park Street. They were doing some rehearsals at Park Street in Liverpool. So that was quite a thing for me because I'd never been to Park Street before, and obviously it's got its history with the band, and Mike Hunter as well. Spent many a year recording many an artist there, so that was quite a lovely little experience doing that.
Yeah, I've never been to either of the studios, if I'm honest, but Real World has this sort of legendary status, though. Does it feel like a magical space? Is it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think the band, every time we've sort of they've been interviewed there in recording albums, have said it's such an amazing place to record. I mean, it's residential, so they can go and stay there and not get distracted by having to go home and feed the cat and that kind of stuff, which means that they're in a very rich creative space, and the whole vibe and the whole environment around the studio is just beautiful. I mean, it's old stone, it's a converted mill, isn't it? So you've got the mill popped outside the big windows, and if the weather's nice, then it is a really, really tranquil place to be. And the main recording room itself is just it's just like a cathedral. The ceiling is so high, and there's so much space, and the band set themselves up, and they have to shout at each other to talk to each other. They're so far apart. But even the secondary studio, the wood room, that itself is a really, really lovely space to work in, because it's all wood. It's on a couple of levels. There's a mezzanine level in there, and it just feels like it's built for music.
Yeah. So they've offered there's a residential week where you can go and go through the mix of So.
Oh, wow.
I did inquire about it, but
And
we have seen the price. Well, that depends on what accommodation you use. It depends on what accommodation and what package you go for. But
there was no camping.
There was
no camping option. Grae,
$3,500 to $5,500 for the week. But you sit there with Peter Gabriel and the engineer, and they talk you through the process for the songs. I did say to John, if I was single, I'd do it. If I did it, I'd end up single. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
So there's a secondary building, which I believe is Peter Gabriel's little own private office studio type thing. And that's all glass fronted as well, so you can actually see into it. And whenever I've been there, it's always been empty. There's been nobody there. And there's another little house where all the bands that record there sort of scribble their names on the wall.
Oh, brilliant!
So that's quite nice. And particularly one for me is great because Elbow have recorded there quite a few times, and I was on my photos from when we did the Estonia thing. It says Elbow recorded here, and there's like a list of about 6 or 7 years, and underneath says you can't get rid. So it's lovely to be in a place where so much great music's been made, and I think that's it's a bit of a cliche to say that it feels like it's seeping out of the walls, but it does.
I think in the write up, so if you look at the site and you talk about the thing, I mean, Peter Gabriel says he always felt that you needed that big room with the engineer and the desk and everything in the same room as the band, and the ability to interact, because I think he said that he always felt that when an engineer was sitting behind a wall with a window, you never managed to have the right relationship to actually get the music right. And that's why, for him, when he wanted to build a studio, it had to be that
Yeah. And that works, that works as well. I mean, watching Mike work with the band, especially the last time for an hour before it's dark, I was there for 4 days, and watching Mike almost be like the conductor. You know, everybody's listening to Mike because he knows exactly what's needed for the recording at that particular time, and the band are very happy to be guided by Mike as to what they need to do. So that's really interesting, and Real World's engineers as well are just absolutely top notch. There's always somebody in there with Mike, making sure that all the buttons and knobs and levers and pulleys work properly, and get the right microphone, or plug in the right kind of lead at the right time, and it just feels like it's a well-oiled machine. It may well not be like that in reality.
I bet it is. I bet it is.
But from a layman's point of view, pointing a camera at it, it feels like it's a very fluid, creative space.
Yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to go, and after hearing you say that, I want to go even more. But I don't want to go $5,500. Yeah,
unless there's
just yet. Not just yet. No, unless Grae's paying, and then we'll go for the big one.
I think if you'd show me that advert in January before I'd put the final lump sum into my mortgage and cleared it, I might have actually paid my mortgage for a few months longer.
Have you got any particular favourite tracks from the St David's gig, Tim?
I mean, I haven't watched it for quite some time. I should have really done my homework properly. But from my memories of editing it, I remember all of them being really standout tracks, just because of the way they were performed, the way the extra musicians were arranged, the whole vibe of the tour, like I said, was very up rather than a drudge, and just the I mean, Gaza was really powerful, as I remember. I love Lienz's lighting on that as well. It's really stark and very, very vibey indeed. I really love Beyond You as a track anyway, and I felt that, I mean, the way the set list was put together, to do Beyond You after the emotional impact of Gaza was genius, really, because it's such an intense and intimate track in its own right that brings everything back to a relationship rather than a war, which is what Gaza's about. Is just and Season's End just follows from that. Estonia, again, another emotionally packed thing. The Hollow Man I really, really liked because it was so pared back, and we could get some really nice shots of H with the girls behind playing the strings, and the screen media for that as well was quite colourful. I think it's got the masks on it, hasn't it? And and stuff. So visually that looked great. I mean, all the way through, Separated Out, brilliant. I mean, that was that the first tour that they did the Led Zeppelin kind of interlude, wasn't it? The Kashmir. That was.
And they'd not done it at Paul Zealand before.
They'd done it on a weekend, but not done it on a tour, had they?
Yeah.
That was great, and I love Mark's screen media for that, which was all kind of circusy, all kind of signage and stuff like that.
Yeah,
they're all great.
I've got to say that Mr. Kennedy is all over this, and he's all over the packaging and everything as well.
And the sleeve, as we said in the last episode.
Wasn't this the first one that he?
Yeah, he was really excited.
Yeah. No, it's a lovely package, isn't it? Because in the racket version, I don't know whether was the booklet in the retail version.
Yeah.
Booklet's
in the retail version.
That's the Hollow Man.
Yeah.
It just looked a lovely, really, really well put together show, and it was a pleasure to put cameras to it. It really was.
Well, it looks amazing, Tim. We said, as well as saying 4K, we always say it looks amazing because it does. It just looks.
You don't need 4K.
You don't. No, Craig.
Which is a good telly.
Craig,
upscaled.
Unless your name is Mark Owens and you buy a 65-inch television.
Yeah. Hey, Craig, you know what you say about 5.1? You've only got 2 fucking eyes, mate. So you don't need it.
And they're getting worse.
And we've like every single Marillion film that we've done in the cinema has been HD put onto the cinema screen, and it's always looked pretty damn good to me.
It has, absolutely has. Yeah. Tim, can we ask you about? I mean, you may not be able to answer what I'm about to ask you, but can we ask you about future projects? What are you working on at the minute? Not particularly Marillion, just generally.
So I've just delivered kind of delivered the final Howard Jones film, which has come together really, really nicely. They're really pleased with it. I mean, did you go to the tour at the?
I didn't know. No.
No, I missed it.
It was really, really cool set list, and obviously quite nostalgic because it was celebrating the anniversary of one of his biggest albums.
Was it Humans Live anniversary?
No, it wasn't. It was oh god, I should
Dream into Action.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was celebrating that, and yeah, did all the songs you'd expect him to do, and it was a really, really cool show. So just finished just at the end of doing that one. I'm editing something for which they filmed at the Sydney Opera House in 2024. I unfortunately didn't film that, but I've got both nights. They did the same set list both nights, so we're creating a film of that, and that's going to be part of a big box set. I'm led to believe.
Right. Yeah.
Forward. What else am I doing? Oh, of course, we're getting ready for Pompeii. So we're just starting. We've got camera plans in place. We're starting to have meetings about that. I'm seeing Jens in a couple of weeks' time, at the beginning of May. Well, three or 4 weeks' time at the beginning of May. So we're going to start making solid plans about what's going to happen with that. And then, what else is going on? Oh yeah, I'm talking with Big Train about filming a show on their tour later on in the year too.
Oh, that will be wonderful if he did that. Yeah,
which would be amazing because they're obviously with the Woodcut album.
Oh, what a record! What a record!
It's just going to lend itself to such an amazing performance and an opportunity to film something quite special with them.
Yeah.
So we're kind of starting to talk about that as well. Yeah, and like I said, probably off air, I'm off to Real World with Steve Rothery and Steve Hackett to film something for them on Friday, which will be part of the promotional stuff for the release of their album. And I'm sure there's something else going on as well, but I can't think what it might be.
The editing of PZ from this year.
Oh crikey, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to be involved in producing another kind of making of documentary of the album that they're working on at the moment, as and when that starts falling into place. But in terms of the PZ stuff from last year, they've got to finish the album first. Mike's just head down in that. He's done some rough mixes of last year's shows at PZ, but nothing.
What, for you to work on the visuals?
For me to work on, but I mean, admittedly, I've not really dived into it at all. I'm kind of waiting for them to decide when they want to release it. And
well, the normal cycle is it's available the following PZ, isn't it?
I mean, that's happened in the past, hasn't it? But I think we have had stuff out before the next one in the past. But I mean, it'd be interesting to see what they want to do in terms of Pompeii, whether they want to get that out before the Marillion weekend. And I would say commercially, that's probably the sensible thing to do.
Yeah,
because it's going to have a lot of a wider appeal, you know. And
want that out for Christmas.
Well, like you're saying, Adele have been very supportive of releases over the last few years, and I think they'll probably be very, very interested in a retail version of Pompeii. I'd be very surprised if they weren't. Particularly as we know, there's been bands playing Pompeii last year, and there's bands playing there this year, and I'm not aware of any concert films coming out from last year's run of shows. And you had people like Jean-Michel Jarre and Nick Cave and Bryan Adams playing there. So, but I do know that they've had cameras up, because all the pictures that I've been seeing from the Pompeii people, they've been sending me pictures as to where we can put cameras, and there are cameras dotted around. So I don't know if they've been filming or what it is. I have no idea. But if
well, Lucy told us, who was it? Lucy was
about Dream. It was Dream Theatre said that they've been told they could film, but they weren't told they could release anything.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
they got permission to film, but not to release. Okay,
I think Lucy's covered that base for
I'm sure she will.
I'm sure she has. Yeah.
I think that's probably how the story got out.
Yeah. So if we are the first band, I suppose, since Gilmour to film and release a concert from Pompeii, then it's going to have a lot of interest. It's going to have a lot of interest in it. Yeah. So yeah, maybe Pompeii comes out before PZ, but I would imagine PZ 2025 will be available at PZ 2027. And I saw on Facebook the other day, somebody was asking what happened with all those bits of video that people sent me about their thoughts about PZ. I was like, well, that was before we knew that we were going back.
So you want us to do it again?
I might have to get people to do it again.
Hey.
So
Or just people to send in just them saying the word 2027 so you can edit in. Oh no, that's a huge task. Forget that's a huge task. Yeah, well, it's a really exciting time for us as Marillion fans, and you know, more power to you, Tim, and what you do. It's so you're just so into the projects that you've got. Whenever we talk to you about any band, you're really enthusiastic about what's going on, and you approach it as much as a fan as you do as a technical professional person.
You have to, because if you just do it sort of paint by numbers kind of style, you don't get any soul, you don't get any feeling, you don't get any kind of that depth of power and passion in the music through the pictures. You know, I can sit here and just do a very basic cut of any show that we filmed, but you've got to take it to the next level and do the music justice.
Yeah,
that's
why.
And
that shows.
Absolutely. Well, Tim, look, thanks very much for spending some time with us again. You're always welcome back on the pod, and thanks for the support you've given us over these last nearly 3 years, Craig.
3 years come September.
Yeah. But we really appreciate it, and you know, we love having you on the pod. So thank you again, Tim.
No, thanks for having me.
Thank you, mate. Well, we welcome back to the pod another friend of the pod. We welcome James Levey.
Good evening.
Hi,
How
James.
are we all?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, good, thank you.
We got James on. He's been a busy man, so he's been unavailable to us, but he's come on to give us his thoughts on the With Friends album, and also maybe tell us a few secrets about things that might have been on there. I don't know. I'm looking at his face. He's nodding. He's nodding. It's looking good, folks. It's looking good. James, let's start with, when did you first hear about the With Friends album?
I just before I think it was fully announced, I happened to be at Racket one day and Mike was tinkering with Ocean Cloud. And I was like, this was my sort of earliest days of meeting Mike. I think I was working on one of the making ofs and picking something up from the attic. And I heard Mike sort of tinkering around with something and I was like, okay, I said, is that a live one? And he went, not really. It's sort of like, okay. And he sort of hinted what they were doing. So that's when I sort of heard something was afoot, but didn't really know what it was. And then obviously we got to see, I think it was Estonia, wasn't it? It was the first sort of announcement of it. And that's when I fully knew what was going on.
Okay. And I mean, well, should we do this? Let's ask you what you think of it, I think, at this point, and then maybe we'll go into some of the things that may have appeared on it. Any views on the album overall? Or
I think there's certain tracks are more favorites than others. I think it's always difficult when you come up against an album like this, where especially when you've got songs that are so ingrained into your psyche almost, that it's trying to marry them up between the new version and the old version. Looking at my notes is like, and it starts off with Estonia, which is a lovely intro.
Yeah.
And I think the way they've done it is very sympathetic to the music. Some bits they're a little bit braver than others, in my opinion. I think Craig's let me had a listen to the recording from last week.
I was going to say you didn't know what we'd said, but you clearly do now. So
yeah,
I'm surprised you're speaking to me, quite frankly. But yeah.
There was if I missed the balalaika, I think that was sort of the consensus in the chat from the last episode,
especially when it's cold.
Yes.
Can't beat a balalaika when it's cold.
Yeah, always like that. But it's still, Estonia's still one of my favorites from the album. I think he's, with H singing, that he's almost put the years of playing it live or singing it live into the recording. And I think that's how I felt listening to the album, the way H's vocals have come across, because that seems to have changed the most across the album. A lot of the music they play, the rest of the band play, is quite faithful to the originals or what they've been doing. But H is sort of changing some of the melodies, and obviously he's not going as falsetto or as in some of the parts. But you can hear with Estonia, and it's a good and fantastic place. It's the way he sang it live rather than the studio. But I think Estonia is one of my favorites. The collection, I think it's nice orchestral parts, and I like H's vocal delivery, sorry, but I miss the guitar and the fragility of the original.
Yeah.
It's always that juxtaposition from the dark lyric to the light music. And I feel that sort of gets a little bit muddied in the Friends version.
It changes the tone of it, doesn't it? Completely. Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing we mentioned, wasn't it? So with you saying there about the change in H's voice, so a lot of the lyrics, the maturity of his voice changed the concept of the lyric to the listener, perhaps, and then missing brothers in some of the parts. But the general, I mean, I think we all generally agreed in most of the songs that we liked and thought worked and didn't. But I mean,
with one exception.
With one exception. Stephanie had some. I thought some of Stephanie's opinions were really quite enlightening, because obviously she's closer to a lot of the material and you're listening to it and what have you. But hearing you say about the difference in the voice, the missing of the guitar or stuff, it ties in with our conversation, which is really nice. It's like it's not just us.
I think, yeah, it's always, as I said at the beginning, it's always going to be difficult when you look at that sort of, it's saying back to less is more almost. It's not a radical change. It's that sympathy, and there's parts where I think the orchestration, whereas has taken over from different instruments, has really accentuated the feel of the song. Going on to like Fantastic Place, it's one of the, for me, it's a brilliant song, and I think with that and Beyond You, it's almost delivering it almost like he's breaking. It's almost like an ache, especially Beyond You, because it was a real, at the time, it was a real personal song. And I think Fantastic Place is the same. So when he sings it on the album version on Marbles, it almost sounds like he's breaking. It almost sounds at points where he's like having to stop the recording because
he's living. He's living.
Yeah.
It feels like it. Yeah, it feels more heartfelt.
But I like the middle bit when it kicks off in Fantastic Place, when it goes up and the orchestration comes in the background. That really is good. I really like that. That sort of that swell of the music really changes that, changes the feel of the song, and I like that. Beyond You, I think as well, it works. The orchestration really works, and I like the sort of, from the original, that Phil Spector sort of wall of sound. Actually, it takes me, to me, it was when I was listening to it a few times, it was almost takes me to more Motown, that Tamla Motown, sort of bringing all the orchestra and everything in. So it almost builds that song up even more. And I like that. But then you go back to the fragility of what Beyond You is, especially the beginning.
Well, that's it. Like, as we talked about in the episode, it's all about that claustrophobia and that feeling of I can't get the thought of you out of my mind. And this is too open. You know, all the ingredients are there, but the song feels really different.
Yeah. It's definitely when you, and it catches you out a few times. You have to really, I have not played it in a while, I must admit.
No.
It's like a lot of things we chat about when we come on these.
I think this is worse for that. I would very rarely pull this out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then TSE, I mean, TSE. It's
TSE, but longer.
Yes, it does catch you out. I forgot the little bit extra lyric was there, and then it was like, oh yeah, I remember this bit now. Again, I like when he does bring it in, and the orchestration that follows it into the sort of Bring to Me the Ghost of Christmas, telling me, and then the orchestra goes with it as it builds up. I like that. That's a nice change. But it's TSE. It's sort of one of those, classic songs.
Again, at the risk of repeating myself, I think it's the best version for me. It flows better than the original. It flows. The transitions are better than the original for me.
And I said that. I said for me. So I understood the importance of the song, but I didn't get the song beforehand. Whereas this version of it, to me, brings everything home. It is a completely different take to me, and it's brilliant.
And I think
Yeah.
going
I
back to what
don't
you
know if
said,
I don't know if it's H's delivery or if it is the arrangement, but there's something about it which makes it more tangible to me.
well, it was like what I said about TSE, earlier on, and what James is kind of reiterated is, well, you've got H's voice, which is clearly and obviously older. It just seems to suit the song better.
Yeah.
The storytelling side of it, it's just got so much more gravitas. And I'm with John entirely. I think the segues between the parts of the song work so much better with the orchestration behind it. It's a beautiful version of TSA. I love it to bits.
And by
Yeah.
the way,
And
hello, Mikey. We didn't introduce you with the episode.
I guess also it comes from a lot of the songs. It's like they've bedded them in live over the years, so they
Yeah.
know where they've roughed off, smoothed off the rough edges.
Yeah.
Or roughed off the smooth edges, even.
Roughed off the smooth edges. One
Yeah.
thing is I picked up as well is Ian's drums on TSC has changed. There's more sort of variations on Ian's drumming of different parts of the song, which is interesting.
Okay.
Hollow Man, yeah, again, quite like the new version, but I miss the piano front and center because
Yeah, very much so.
that makes the song for me. But I do like it, and I like H's vocal delivery, which I liked a lot in this. Is it gives it variations, in this album. It gives it different flavors and accentuates different parts where you've got from the originals. Sky Above the Rain, I think this is the quintessential version for me. I know. I prefer the drop. I really do. I think that's more that brings that claustrophobic and sort of that. It's I think in the original, because it goes big, it's almost like, oh, this is the blue sky, this is where we're going. When that drop, it almost feels the other way. Is a little bit of hope, but more despair.
So do you
But that's the
realise
way I felt.
John's going to burn us at the stake here?
Yes.
Oh,
You're all,
It's not the first time.
You're all wrong. You're all wrong.
Because I was shouting in the first episode, I feel like I should say it again, but you know that I don't agree with any of that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But isn't it interesting though how those you listen to a song like that and it's a really powerful song and you both say it's really powerful, but you've both got completely different opinions about why it works and why it doesn't. As fans of the music, you're like, yeah, I love that drop because it does this, and John's like, no, it takes away from the power of X and Y and Z. And I'm with John, by the way. But it is.
I think a lot of it with that song in particular, it depends on what that song meant to you before.
Yeah.
I've lived that lyric. I've been in that lyric, and that means so much to me. That lyric. I've been there. And then the bit in the original where he just keeps going higher and higher, that's like the release. That is the hope. And to take it down again, it just isn't there on this version. I should have said that in the first episode instead of shouting at Craig, but
Yeah, we're used to it.
What? You've just got cloth ears, mate. Just done a 3-year podcast to prove it.
That's true. I mean, the version of Season's End is one of my favorites on the album.
It's stunning.
Like this. I really like the version of Season's End. The bit where it goes into that's the last part that when it sort of
the
goes into the
instrumental
music,
section,
yeah, where the strings come in, that is gorgeous, and just really elevates it for me for that version.
Yeah.
And I know one that divided you a lot with Ocean Cloud. I really like Ocean Cloud. I think
you like the original though, don't you?
Yeah, but I like this version as well because it gives there's different bits and pieces. I like with the storm and the little orchestration behind it and the lead up to that. That's a really nice little moment.
And the Irish jig.
Yes, and the Irish jig.
Was it Mikey and I that were talking about the motion? You feel it more with the orchestration. You feel that kind of
Yes.
where he's stuck. Yeah, and it works for me. It really does.
Yeah, it is very sort of visceral that you can feel the waves and the water and everything like that. Yeah. So as an album itself, I think it's really good. I really enjoy it. You know, you have to sort of I had to take myself away from the originals because that colours some of it. But listening back to it, and it's been a while since I listened to it, I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Again, I think that's the consensus that we came to. It's another one of those that we, as you said, James, that we've rediscovered because of the pod. I think the surround mix is the only way to listen to this record.
It is now,
unless you're Craig. And the DVD, the Blu-ray, sorry, the two disc Blu-ray is just amazing, fantastic.
Yeah. So I have got a question for James. So we were talking with Tim, and we were talking about things, and he was like, "This wasn't." So between the Royal Albert Hall with the second half of the show, and then building up the In Praise of Folly work with and then the video with he says it wasn't all just really. He says the fans saw the video and then heard the album and then saw the tour. He says, but there was a lot of work that went into it beforehand.
Yeah.
I mean, were you aware of that kind of that build towards the aim? The build towards what they were doing. I mean, you say there you heard like Mike mixing the.
Yeah, I mean, then I think I was still quite. Probably if it was happening now, I'd be much more aware of it.
Yeah.
Because then I was just sort of starting to get to know Mike and getting more involved in the making ofs and then the whole archiving and things like that. So I wasn't really aware of it, but there was a lot of work. I mean, I have looked into it now. Because to go back, I don't know if I forget if you discussed on the pod where H met In Praise of Folly through the It's Silver's Vein album.
No, is that where it was it?
We didn't talk about that, no.
Yeah. So Sam Morris, who plays the French horn, they've used him as far as back as Somewhere Else. He's playing on the outro of Faith.
Right.
So I don't know where that introduction happened, whether Mike knew him or something. I don't know whether. But In Praise of Folly came from the Isilda's Bane. So they were, when H was doing in Colours Not Found in Nature.
Yeah.
They went up to H and said, "Oh, we'd love to get more involved in the sort of rock band and music and things like that." And H thought, aha. And he got them into PZ in 2017, wasn't it?
2017, yeah.
Yeah, to do with .com, the Mrs. Lady Havisham's wigs and all that.
Yeah.
And the band were a bit sort of slow to adapt to that, I think you could say.
Reticent
is the word, yes. Yeah. And then obviously the Albert Hall, and it was a case of would like to take it further. But they actually, when they said, oh, it would be nice to, do it as a stopgap, bit like Less is More, they'd actually had started jamming for what became An Hour Before It's Dark. So the Hour Before Dark, which we'll talk about on a soon-to-be recorded pod, no doubt, was actually starting around beginning of 2018. So by the time they sort of broke for this, they'd done a couple of months of jamming. There was actually some good ideas that eventually became An Hour Before It's Dark already gone. But Mike, I spoke to Mike today, and he said, really, we talked about maybe we could do an orchestral album. And he said, I just went away and found the bits of the songs of Marillion that I like and thought, oh, let's have a good tinker with them. So that sort of happened around March, April time of 2018. And then he sent the first draft round to the band to say, look, these are my ideas. And he took not just the album versions, but also live versions. So something that was later, which I think may also then shape the arrangements of what we have on the album. So they weren't so closely following the studio version. So they were live versions. And there were lots. So I'll read you the list alphabetically of what he sent, because there's other bits that make sense, but other bits that didn't. So the list was A Collection, Beyond You, Dryland, Estonia, Faith, Fantastic Place, Hollow Man, Now She'll Never Know, Ocean Cloud, Out of This World. And Mike said to me, he said, I wished I got that right. He said,
Yeah.
I really wished I got that right because I had high hopes for that.
Yeah.
And he said, I didn't do it how I should have done, thinking about it now. So that was one he said he wished, he could have done. Power, Season's End, Sky Above the Rain, Somewhere Else, Sounds That Can't Be Made, which actually sounds really nice with Mike's little demo arrangements on. TSE, The Only Unforgivable Thing, and You're Gone.
Oh, there's some crackers on there.
There's some
that they
crackers
didn't
on that,
do.
isn't there?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
the only,
I mean-
only unforgivable thing, and Now She'll Never Know. Oh,
Yeah.
what could
But,
it
but
be?
even but also Out of This World would, even
Yeah,
without
yeah,
hearing
yeah.
what he did, would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, the
Well,
whole
it
end
would,
section with
sorry, it
strings. Yeah.
would make a great making of.
I don't know if I can get away with that one. But anyway, so he did that, and then the band worked through 2018. They worked on it, and then did some sort of early demos or played around with the arrangements, and they whittled it down to the album. So when they'd done the demos, they'd agreed that was the tracks for the album. And then I'm just going back to my notes. Mike wrote the sheet music and everything, and sent all the sort of ideas around to all the players, and then they met together at Real World in October, and that was when it was recorded. And then you
Wow.
had, so the album was done and mixed by 2019, but obviously by the time we got to the beginning of 2019, they were into convention seasons, and then so they then planned for the tour at the end of 2019. And as you've seen for the videos, they went down to Parr Street in Liverpool to that was basically the tour rehearsals.
Wow.
So there you go.
Very good. James, that's amazing information. Thank you. And thank you to Mike as well for divulging that to you.
No
Not that Mike ever listens to this, but there you go. No, that's brilliant. Some of the stuff on there. Wow. Time for volume 2, is it? Or an EP. It's just an EP
Yeah.
we'll do, yeah.
I think maybe in the future they'll do something more live, I think, rather than doing a studio.
Yeah, yeah. I think it will be wonderful. Absolutely. Well, look, thank you for joining us for this episode, James.
You're welcome.
Some great insights there, and thanks for your opinions on the album. We've talked about the album now for probably about 5 times its length, haven't we, guys? Feels like it.
Over
Feels
about
like it.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but that was what we think.
yeah. So we posted on our Facebook group, I don't know, back in
2005 or something like that. Yeah.
a while ago, saying that this was the homework that we were going to do, and we asked some of you, our esteemed listeners, for your views on the With Friends album, and as usual, you told us. So we're going to give you a few of the highlights now. He says, frantically scrolling because I wasn't ready.
Now back over to us.
Yeah. So back on the 27th of March, we asked you, what do you think of the With Friends from the Orchestra and With Friends at St David's albums and Blu-ray? And as usual, we got lots of comments. So thank you for your comments. We'll give you some of the highlights now. Kester R says, for me, the album is interesting but not essential, in the same way as Less is More. However, the St David's gig is a blinder, and the Blu-ray is one of my favourite Marillion live shows.
John McCauley. For me, the choice of songs to appear in this album is almost perfection. I was delighted to see a collection included, and it was wonderful when they played it at the Royal Albert Hall. If they'd managed to include Gaza on the album, totally unrealistic, I know, but you get what I mean, would have been possibly my favourite Marillion album. Was fortunate enough to see both nights at the Royal Albert Hall, and both nights were fantastic, the second night especially so. Hearing Gaza, Estonia, Strange Engine on both nights, fantastic place, Sky Above the Rain, Ocean Cloud, Season's End, a collection. Well, I couldn't have handpicked a better set list myself. don't watch the Cardiff Blu-ray very often, I must admit, but I do like the 5.1 of the album, which is included.
Good shout. Phil Davies says something controversial, not something that interests me, to be honest. A bit like having a choir on stage. I much prefer just the band playing. I just don't think it adds anything to the songs. I have heard them, but meh.
Ooh. Darren Newitt, good friend of ours. These albums include an interesting selection of alternate versions of classics with very well written orchestrations. Most of the orchestrations add a new backing melodies and parts rather than replace original parts. We had a taste of these kind of arrangements at the Royal Albert Hall, notably the Space and Easter. These went down fantastically and were the spirit of the collaboration. So the spirit of the celebration of being there. Mike Hunter has done a nice job of composing for these additional parts. Are these songs better than the original versions? Probably not for hardened fans used to the original, but it's not the point. These are alternative, wonderful versions and nice to hear. Even better enjoyed live.
Okay. Nathan Page said, I don't listen to either very often, but the UK leg of the tour was a lot of fun, with a couple of really special gigs in there, even if it took a couple of gigs to get going. I'm a big fan of the version of A Collection.
Paul McMillan, hi Paul. These aren't so much reimagined tracks, but they are revisited to allow more space, which in some of these cases really works. Take Estonia, for example. There's a few that will compare these to less is more versions, but I feel they're slightly unfair given the addition of the extra musicians involved.
Okay. Mixstead says, I love the albums. It has adds a totally different dimension to the songs. And Andrew Barnsley Wood says, Sky Above the Rain, definitive version. Wrong again, Barnes.
Yeah, Simon Coburn, I just don't think it added much over and above what Mark Kelly could already achieve with his sounds. Marillion aren't a band that need any extra sauce, and if anything, I suspect it just made it harder for H to be heard.
Okay. On a similar line to Barnes, Stephen Dempster says, love these variations of classic tracks. The standout for me is A Sky Above the Rain. Still can't suffer Ocean Cloud, it just doesn't click with me. As a comparison, Less is More is a step down in quality, whereas this is a step up in quality, each to their own, of course.
Yeah, Barrett Nazum, I love St. David's, possibly the highest quality live recording of Strange Engine.
Wow. Neil McChrystal, I like the studio recordings. The live album is a little tainted as the Glasgow show on this tour was disappointing. It definitely felt a bit phoned in. I'm not the only one who felt this way, and it's clear H was saving himself for the next night. So much so we didn't get TSE. I have the Blu-ray, but I'm not sure if I've even watched it, to be honest.
We discussed that though, didn't we? I
did,
know I said I
we
wouldn't
did.
talk. We did discuss that, and he wasn't well. He did say he wasn't well, and I was at the Glasgow show, and I did comment about some of the changes in the set list. But if the band has to do a tour, it's not about doing one show. So you've got to accept the fact that if he's not well, he's not going to push himself. Sorry, Neil.
Hey,
Seamus Culligan. He's done a nice review of each of the tracks, which is a bit long for us to read out here. So have a read on that, and I'll just read his sum up of it. I own the black vinyl version, which is highly recommended. Lovely packaging, cover artwork, and the pressing is really dynamic, free from pops, clicks, and co. And the Friends at St. David's is a triple vinyl set. To be honest, he hasn't played it anywhere near as much as a studio album. Probably the main reason is because his copy is unfortunately a bit too noisy at times. So it's easily the poorest quality Marillion LP that they've released through Ear Music. But have a look at his post on there because it's really interesting. Interpretations of his explanations of the interpretations, really good.
okay. Let's finish with Catherine Royk, who says, I'd say the Less is More album thrills me a lot more than the orchestrated versions. They're all pleasant to listen to, but it still leaves me thinking that Marillion is not a band in needs of an extra wallop, to a point where it almost adds cheesiness to the songs that any other band might need to do with strings in order to convey the drama and emotion. Gaza with the Friends of the Orchestra is just sublime. P.S. Fantastic cover on the With Friends from the Orchestra. So there are lots more comments besides these in our Facebook group. If you're not a member, please join now. Yeah, so that's what you think of it, and you've heard what we think of it. And thanks for getting this far if you've got through all these 85 episodes on With Friends from the Orchestra. Yeah. So I think it's time to say goodbye.
Or adieu for now.
Yeah, adieu for now. Till next week. But we want to thank the following who've been on this episode: Tim Sidwell, Graham Tennick, Mikey Kay, James Levey, Craig Houston,
And
anyone else?
Mezza.
And me. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe. If you could subscribe, it really helps us out. We just get word a little bit further out there, and it makes our figures look a little bit better. And I just want to remind you that we do this for nothing, for the love of it. So thanks for listening.
We're not fleecing you with subscriptions and stuff. But if you see John at a gig, you'll buy him something nice.
Well, I don't know what to say to that. Thanks very much for listening. We do appreciate it. All that remains to be said is it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him. And we're ready to go back in a time machine to 1983, aren't we, John?
We are. Soon. Take care.
And stay alive.
Thanks for listening to Planet Marzipan Podcast. Please like and subscribe from whichever platform you get your podcasts from. You can contact us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com and check out marillion.com, fishmusic.scot for all the good stuff.